Jai Hind, Namaste everyone. So today it's a research article which was done by one of our team member. His founder, a real expert in tracking geopolitics and in the sense the cyber part of it, how things happen in dark web. So he has put his hard efforts and given us a very detailed article on HAMAS. So when we think of Hamas, we think it as a terrorist organization. Few say they are freedom fighters, whatsoever the reasons may be. So we need to understand where do they get the money from. So this video is all about that. It's a well-researched, detailed article. I'll also pin his Facebook and Twitter profile. You can follow him for more updates, and we will keep on presenting you such detailed facts in our channel. Okay. Now we need to look at Palestine in whole. So one part of it is his West Bank, another is the Gaza Strip, and third they are also settled in part of Jerusalem. So all this makes Palestinians, we can call it as a living area or a conflict area. West Bank comparatively it is peaceful, even though there is Israeli, we can call it as encroachment, Israeli settlement in which side of the spectrum you are. But let's look at Gaza, which is directly ruled by Hamas. Unemployment in Gaza is at around 47%, which is one of the highest, in any sort of economic parameter. Almost 80% of the population live under the poverty line as per the UN reports. But if you look at Hamas, their military budget ranges from 100 to 350 USD. It is one of the wealthiest terror groups in the world, and it has an annual estimate of $1 billion in the next few years. So it's a filthy rich terrorist organization. It has assets, it has wealth managers, it has funding managers, and it's a whole lot of this thing. So you can understand where the money exactly goes into. When almost 50% or 80% of your population is living below the poverty line, you are expected to bring them out from the poverty. You are expected to build infrastructure. You are expected to provide employment. That's what a typical government does. Governance means that they have to take care of people. But Hamas, on the other hand, spends a lot of money. 300 million US dollars is no jokes for a terrorist organization. So no, it's no surprise they are one of the richest terrorist organizations in the world. Now, where do these funds come from? Hundreds of millions of dollars come as an aid to Palestine. Now, understand it is an aid to Palestine, not to Hamas. So India does it. India gives around 5 million USD in terms of cash in kind, and various other countries. Every country, when they calibrate their foreign policy, they allocate some amount of funds for Palestinians. But the problem here is who governs the Palestine is Hamas. So the money which goes as aid, so it's mostly given as food grains, medical aids, and hospitals and building materials, so that it doesn't fall. But this can also be traded in the black market, and the funds can be used to procure weapons. Now, Iran, overtly or covertly, they induce a lot of funds into Hamas, because they are in a way they're brothers, and they also have tax systems in Gaza. They do through extortion, smuggling, and they use extensively. They use cryptocurrencies. Now, extortion sounds strange, but Hamas operatives are active in many countries. So how do extortion happen? Say, for example, if somebody has been taken a hostage, a foreign national who works for a UN or works for any defense company who is placed in Gulf, if he gets kidnapped, or you need to pay some ransom and get them back. So Hamas does that. And now a report says that Hamas received 41 million US dollars between 21 to 23 in the past 2 years, according to a crypto analytics and a software firm called BitOK. So this is is a software firm which analyzes what kind of transaction happens in the in the Bitcoin or in the currency Bitcoin currency base, They are based out of Tel Aviv. So their sister group, Palestine Islamic Jihad, PAJ, they also have received 95 million US dollars as cryptocurrencies. So this report has been published by a London-based crypto researcher, Elliptic. Now the Al-Qassam Brigade, which is a military wing of Hamas, have also received hundreds of millions of dollars as direct transfers through BitCurrency, as per the elliptical analysis report. So Hamas has got a political wing which is supposed to govern the Gaza Strip, and then it has a sister organization which is the Islamic Jihad, and it has the Al-Qassam Brigade, which is again the military wing of Hamas. So all of them independently do receive lot of cryptocurrencies and investments. So they were Israel was not so successful in blocking the cryptocurrencies. Till date they were able to seize around 150 cryptocurrency accounts, which is basically used to launder money. Either Hamas pays to somebody, say for example North Korea, for weapons, or they receive as funds, incoming funds, whichever way it is. So it's a very, very complex system. It's impossible for the various governments across the world find it too difficult to handle bitcoins and Bitcoin currency trade which happens, because most of this happens in the dark web. And there is a system to track it, but till such time it gets legalized and regularized, so this nightmare is going to be there for ever. So in the stand, we took a very, very conservative stand of we are not going to permit cryptocurrencies in any form, and India has in fact banned cryptocurrencies, and those who are trading, a lot of us trade it for quick money, they do it on their own risk. Now the cryptocurrencies are easy to track actually. They are easy to track, block, and also get seized, because that's a quality of the blockchains, which, so anybody thinks that we are doing an anonymous transaction, the answer is no. It can be tracked. So UN estimates around 20% of the world's terror funding happens through Bitcoin. It helps them source people. Now Bitcoin, now imagine a bank transfer where we do a bulk transfer. So anything about 2 lakhs, say for example in India, you have to take the RTGS, real-time gross transfer route. So that is monitored by the Reserve Bank of India. The central bank monitors it. Each bank submits a report by the end of the day of so-called, what you call them as high-value transactions. Bitcoin, the similar mechanism exists. We can easily track it. But here, if you distribute it and say, for example, you pay 10 Dogecoins or say 1 Bitcoin or 2 Bitcoin to an individual to recruit him, it becomes too difficult for us to track them, because Bitcoin now has been used as a currency as well in many countries. Some of the countries have legalized it. Now, Iran overtly, openly, they funded around 100 million US dollar. So they said it's for humanitarian and defense projects, not exactly for Hamas military aid. Qatar has contributed 150 million to Hamas in 2019, 100 million in 2020, 360 million in 2021, and 2022 it's estimated to be 120 million. This is overtly done. It's in the open. It's disclosed, the governments disclose, and they do it. And they justify that we are supporting the Gaza government, but not the terrorists. But the funny part is the Gaza government is Hamas, and the terrorist is also Hamas. So it doesn't mean that, I give money to a bad guy, and the bad guy also governs it. And then we expect him to go and do the governing activity and not the terror activity. So sizable amounts of funds have gone in the past 3 years, which was supposed to be quote unquote for the upliftment of Gaza, especially the Palestinians who struggle there for their livelihood. But they ended up, buying gliders and making rockets. So there is another financial base in Turkey and Lebanon. And Lebanon acts as a middleman. So those who doesn't want to get exposed by directly funding Hamas can use Lebanese and fund Hezbollah. And rather, Lebanon acts as a place where the middleman you can literally fund ISIS, you can literally fund Hezbollah, you can literally fund Hamas, because they act as a middleman. And Iran also used Russian oil companies to provide oil. It's a barter system. You don't send money directly. You provide oil, and we will pay for you in some other way. because there is a good relation between Russia and Iran. Thanks to American policies, both these countries have been isolated globally because of repeated sanctions. So they are now left with nobody to control. They can do what they want. So the bad side of American sanctions, which actually the American sanctions didn't work the way it used to work in 90s and 2000. So we see these two countries getting isolated, and anybody who's like thrown out of the world system, they naturally become friends. In 95 to 2001, there is an NGO in US called Holy Land Foundation for Relief and Development. They sent more than $12 million. Now this is a very key thing. In fact, US citizens were one-time funding for this, and there is an NGO which was very, very active. So this 12 million funding is basically doesn't come from the state operator. It comes from common people like you and me. We donate, say for example, $5 or $10. That got accumulated to a sum of $12 billion, and this went into Hamas. In 2007, Hamas was the one. Hamas actually won the government. So there was an election held, and Hamas won the government in Gaza, and they didn't had any money to spend actually. So that's the time US always projects themselves as a guardian of democracy. For every problem in the world, US believes that democracy is a solution. They have, for example, after World War II, two countries were defeated and thrashed by US. One is Germany and one is Japan, which was very imperialistic and rather I would say dictatorial. Later on they became democracies, and they become successful democracies, one of the good economies, and people live in peace. After that, both these countries never went on war. So US believe that this template will work with Afghanistan, will work with Iraq, will work with Syria, which is not the case, but that's what they tend to believe, that democracy is the only solution for all the world's problem. All the dictators has to be thrown out. But these people are very, very far away from democracy. The cultures are different. So that is where the time when US decided that yes, let us allow this funding. So they told their good friend Qatar, and it ended up spending around 1.5 billion US dollars as a financial aid, which was then permitted by US. So this particular fact will resonate, say for example, in Israeli elections, that Americans have funded Hamas, and Hamas in turns is attacking us. Now coming to the taxes. Now Palestinians also, Gaza has a sizable population, 2.3 million population. So Gaza has a tax regime in West Bank and Hamas has a tax regime in both West Bank and Gaza, where they collected around 3.316 billion, 3.4 billion roughly from 2007 till date. Now this has come as a taxes. Now taxation is openly available. You can go on internet and download and see what taxes are there. And there's something called smuggling, the parallel economy, or what you call as black money. So that also generates equal amount of money, but we don't have a track of how much money it does. So we can say ballpark as 50%. That turns out to be another 2 billion US dollars as funding. And Hamas openly imposes official, unofficial fees on anything you import. Say for example, a life-saving drug or anything they import. So that adds up to $450 million. And Hamas also has import taxes from Egypt, because that shares a larger boundary with the Gaza Strip. So that turns around to be a 15 million revenue annually by taxing the goods which comes from Egypt. And there is a 16.5% extra tax in West Bank, because West Bank is much more robust and stable. People go, people are employed, people earn. So that's a 16.5% tax, which amounts to $25 million annually. And then Iran also pays international aid, which is not, say Iran pays it to Hamas covertly, Iran pays it to Palestinian government overtly, and then Iran also routes money through the approved UN aid. So for example, India was paying around $1.8 million till 2016, I think 2017. From there on it was increased to $5 million US. This is approved by the UN and it goes legally. It goes through registered NGOs who are directly on the ground doing those reconstruction and welfare activities for the Palestinians. Now let's look at the assets of Hamas. This is like really mind blowing. Trend JOO, that's a real estate investment trust which holds 542 million US dollars with an annual revenue of $87 million revenue. This is owned by Hamas. Though they are a real estate investment trust, they have properties across Gulf and in few undisclosed locations that may be in Europe or even in Africa. So Musa Mohammed Salim Dudin in the West Bank is a West Bank Hamas political bureau member and is a very open supporter of Hamas. So he 2023 the US Treasury Department of Foreign Assets the designation of Trend JO as a banned company. Now US realized that this company is actually managing the assets of Hamas. So what Dudin did is he immediately transferred all the assets to other parties. Quickly it got diluted to various other companies, and he claimed that he doesn't have any link to Hamas assets and just a politician, a political operator working for the welfare of people of the Palestinians. Now we have the Al Rawad real estate development, which roughly estimates around 50 million US dollars net worth. So it is run by a person called Hamza, a Sudan-based Hamas financier. So he facilitates these large companies in Sudan, Algeria, Turkey, and all these places. So where they invest on real estate, they invest on oil companies, they invest on mines, they invest on timber companies, and then they finally siphon off these funds, and it ends up funding Hamas. And then there is a website called Bycash, where they have been used. Bycash has been used to transfer funds to affiliate terrorist groups. So that's Al Qaeda, ISIS. So these guys are all partners in crime. So they have a very good cross relations between these terrorist groups. So whenever they need, so they lend, take, and aid money between themselves. So this website and through dark web, it acts as a platform. They will use cryptocurrencies, they will use real estate payments as a mode of money transfer between these various terrorist organizations. And then you have the fund managers. So Itcon Real Estate JSC, Al Rawad Real Estate Development, Aggregate Holding, Sidar Company, and a company, Trend JO. So this is a massive network of roughly 1,000 people, which are around 400 organizations operating in 33 different countries. You can find this data in NBCTF. So we'll try to share the link of it. Now, what has the world done to stop this? Now, fighting terrorists on ground is very kinetic. It amounts a lot of money. It's bloodshed. It's really bad to go and fight terrorism on ground. And we as a nation have been shedding blood on this. Like various countries have been shedding. Like today, Israel is what they're paying a heavy price. But if you cut down the funding, the terrorists cannot operate. So far, US has been able to crack down on the shell companies. They have tightened the audit process of how this humanitarian aid is getting spent in Gaza. And then there is a Terror Financing Target Council, which is based in Riyadh, which was found in 2017. So Saudi actually, acutely pursues this to cut down funding for their own enemies, like Houthis, who try to target them from Yemen. So all these Gulf countries are, it's completely shady. Anybody who is into black money and stuff, so you can find some link in Dubai or some link in the Gulf in the Middle East. So the countries are very opaque, their banking processes are opaque, their policies are opaque. So that becomes a breeding ground for the world in terms of terror financing. And terror always goes with narcos. So it's always the drug trade, the drug mafia, human trafficking, and terror. This all goes together because that's how the trade works, which has been working for quite some, thousands of years now. Till date, it hasn't changed. So unless or until Israel and other countries who are trying to fight the Western nations who are trying to fight terror network, cracks the whip on this particular terror financing, it is impossible to eradicate Hamas. Same goes for India, We have around 20 odd active terrorist organizations in the country, be it the Red Corridor, Maoist, various forms of Maoism, and then we have the activism based, whenever you come up with an infrastructure project, there is a lot of full-time activists. So you need to ask a simple question: where do they get the money from? Every one of us have a job or a business we do and we earn money, but there are dedicated full-time activists, lot of activists in India, who are very influential, who are very powerful. They own medias and they have support within and outside the country. They do get finances. So FCRA regulations have been tightened by then the Manmohan Singh government, by now the Modi government, but it is just not enough because bitcoins, the cryptocurrency trading and various other ways of getting shell companies coming in. So that finances are directly or indirectly aiding terrorism in one way or the other, and in the narco-terrorism one way or the other. So we need to have stricter vigilant measures to crack down on this. Till then, we will be shedding blood in the Red Corridor, in Kashmir and in Northeast. Because that's a sorry state of affairs which we have. Unless we cut down the terror funding, it's impossible for us to stop. So hope you would like this video. I have just narrated this video. This research is purely and purely done by Sounder, a real expert. We have all those, the mainstream media where people call themselves as experts. So they generally tend to read out news. This is a full research based article. If you like this video, please do subscribe and share. Like 50% of our viewers haven't subscribed. It's a simple request from us. And do follow Sounder in his social media page. If you have any questions, you can ask to him directly. Thank you all. Jai Hind.